Can we talk about relationships where there is a huge age gap? And yes, I mean, whether it's an older man dealing with a younger woman, or it can be reverse, an older woman dealing with a much younger man. Let's talk about it. So, we just found out that Deion Sanders and Karreuche Tran have been a couple. They've been dating on the low. I don't believe shit about her being his goddaughter. I think he likes some young, and she's not the only young one. I've seen another young woman that he was creeping with behind Tracy Edmonds' back, and Tracy Edmonds is his ex-girlfriend. Babyface, that's Babyface ex-wife. Tracy Edmonds was in a relationship with Deion Sanders for like 10 years. And she was more age appropriate. She's close in age with Deion. Grown woman, businesswoman, drop dead gorgeous. She is much more fitting to be, his wife even. She got her own money and everything. She don't need his money, anything. But the rabbit hole goes deep. He has a pattern of being a serial cheater. He's had two previous ex-wives. But the side pieces, he has a type. He likes them high yellow and young. Karreuche is not the only young woman, 20s and 30s, that Deion has been messing around with. He gets around. Even with the bladder cancer and the diabetes, none of that is stopping him. And yes, I do believe he is destiny swapping with Karreuche. I also think he's a predator, and I think Karreuche is also a predator. She's in it for the money. She has daddy issues because I think her father was not in her life. If my understanding, if I get the story wrong, y'all can correct me in the comment section. My understanding is she was raised by her mother and godmother or grandmother. Her father was not around, so she has daddy issues. So that's what I want to talk about in this video, about these age gap relationships and why people choose to get with someone much older and why a much older person gets with a younger person. Okay, there's a very serious reason behind it. And by the way, yes, Deion wants a young nurse by his side because his health is, he's old. He's probably really insecure, and, he just wants a young thing by his side to take care of him. Okay. A young, pretty, light skinned thing. And Karreuche is in it for the money. Okay. So it works for both of them. But there is like a 20-year age gap there, and she's young enough to be his daughter. So I'm going to speak from my personal experience as well. I once was married. People attack me on here every day and say, spiritual whistleblower, you ain't got no man, you ain't got no husband, you don't know what you talking about. Baby, I done been married and divorced. I know what it's like to be married. I know, my ex-husband was much older than me, like 15 years older, and he was abusive. And part of the reason he was abusive is because he was much older than me. And, at the time, I didn't know my self-worth. And because my father was a piece of shit father, my daddy was not there for me. He was lousy at paying child support. He moved far away to another state, thousands of miles away from me and my siblings. He was not there. Okay, so I too had daddy issues. I had a void in me that my father left. So when I got married to my much older husband, not only was he a partner, but I didn't realize at the time I saw a father figure in him. He was not rich. However, he acted like an authoritative father figure aside from being a spouse. Once we got married, all hell broke loose. Very controlling, down to him even controlling what I eat, what I wear, threatening me with a weapon, damn near breaking the bones in my fingers, gave me a black eye. I had 4 restraining orders. He kept breaking the restraining orders and going to jail. Very violent, controlling man. And I said, I can't do this. I divorced him after a year. Okay. We didn't stay married long because I said, I didn't sign up for this. So a lot of women that end up marrying older men, we have daddy issues. Okay. We have daddy issues. We're not narcissists. We are codependent and we are raised and groomed by our family to be a pick me. And when you're a pick me, you know, in the back of your mind is, I got to get married because my family said you ain't shit without a man. You ain't shit without a husband. That's the programming. We all have been taught this way. Okay. It doesn't mean you're stupid or a bad person. It just means you have to undo the programming that your toxic family has taught you. You know, it took me a long time to learn my self-worth and to fix my daddy issues. I will never remarry. I think marriage is just a tool for a man to be a bully and very controlling. Marriage is not for me. Now, there's the other type of woman, a narcissistic woman will marry a much older man because she's in it for the money and she desperately wants the title of wife. Not for the right reasons. She wants to be able to, you know, it's validating to her to talk down to women. That's why you ain't got no man. I'm married. She will accept her husband's cheating. Her husband can sleep on her with men and women and she will never divorce him. Her husband can beat on her. She will never divorce him. Those are the long-term marriages. A pick-me woman, a narcissistic woman will marry a much older man. She too has daddy issues, but she is equally toxic as the man. Okay? She's not going to divorce him. She's going to cling to the marriage for dear life because that's her identity. Her whole identity is behind her toxic, cheating ass, toxic marriage. And she feels, because she's deeply insecure, she feels she has one up on single women. She will tolerate being miserable in her marriage just to say she got a man, okay? A much older man. Meanwhile, he's stealing her youth and making her miserable. You understand? And she wants him for his money, okay? That's another factor. He's either paying her bills or she's waiting on him to pass away to collect on his life insurance. She's in it for the money. She don't even like him, don't want to sleep with him, but she will not divorce him. Understand, ladies? Now, when the huge age gap, when it comes to a man, it's obvious, ladies, why a man wants a much younger woman, 10, 15, 20 years younger. Because in a man's mind, a narcissistic man wants to be able to groom, manipulate, and control a woman with no pushback. He don't want you talking back. He don't want you to value yourself. You know, he wants to be able to manipulate you with no issues. So the younger the victim, the more easier it is for that abusive narcissistic man to train his victim. That's why the older man preys on a much younger woman. And if he's much older, in his 60s and 70s, he has a nurse. He knows he's not attractive. He knows he's in bad health. He knows, you know, his kids don't want to be fucking bothered with him. So he needs him a little nurse by his side. That's also another reason why these men prey on much younger women. And by the way, we also can say the same for older women fucking with much younger men. We saw this with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. She got called out by Paul Pierce because her lover is 9 years younger than her. And not only that, when she was in her late 30s or whatever, he was in his 20s. And he will not make her his girlfriend. I don't know what the situation is, but it's toxic and you would expect more. As much shit as Dr. Cheyenne Bryant pops about, you know, being high value and this and that, what's she doing? Honey, you can't date an older man, older mature man on your level. No, because she doesn't want an older man clocking her and seeing through her manipulation. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is extremely toxic and manipulative. I too believe she's narcissistic, but I just want to do both sides of the coin. I don't want to make it seem like it's all men. Women do it too. I don't approve of relationships where there's a huge age gap. There's always a predator involved and it's toxic, whether they stay together or not.